everybody, and welcome to our April Future Ready Librarians webinar. We're so happy that everybody is here, and I couldn't be more excited about this topic and the guests that we have. And so, thank you everyone for coming. Today, we're going to talk about voices that matter and creating equity-centered collections, something that we are all passionate about as librarians. My name is Shannon McClintock Miller. I am the District Teacher Librarian and Innovation Director at Van Meter Community Schools in Iowa, and I also serve as the Future Ready Librarians Leader. But you can follow me on my blog, and I'm on social, and I pop my email in there too if you have any questions. Now, as I said, we have three amazing guests with us today. And when I was thinking about this webinar and gathering people, I just couldn't be more honored to have you three join me in this conversation and all the work that you do. And so first, I'd like to welcome Lauren to our to our webinar.
Hi, Shannon and everyone. Thank you for having me. So introduce myself. My name is Lauren Mobley, and I am a media education and technology instructor, formerly known as media specialist, formerly known as school librarian, because my district keeps changing the names. But anyways, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, more specifically College Park, Georgia, and I teach at a high school. Which I'll tell you a little bit more in a little bit. You can find me online at Mobley in the Mix. You can also check out my podcast, Library Unlocked.
Thanks, Lauren. Next, we have Melissa.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be with you guys today. My name is Melissa Corey. I am a middle school library media specialist. Like Lauren said, our titles go back and forth between librarian or media specialist, and mine has both library and media in it right now. I'm from Missouri, so I'm from the St. Joseph School District. And you can follow me in a couple different places. I post a lot of what I create in Canva, especially on Instagram. And I do post on TikTok a little bit. And I will go ahead and hand it over to Nicholas.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
You're
move
good.
that
No, you're
slide.
fine.
I'm making sure that everything is set on here. So thank you so much, Melissa. And next up, Nick.
Hey everybody, I'm so happy to be here with you all. Lauren, Shannon, Melissa are my favorites. We're all library besties now,
Oh,
and Shannon's gonna plan a trip for us. So we're so glad for y'all to be here. I am Nicholas Moore. I'm a K through 5 school librarian in Powder Springs. So we're located in Metro ATL. We're to the west of Atlanta. So kind of near Lauren, not too close, but we're going a little bit down to the elementary friends because we probably have the most fun. You can follow me on social media. I love sharing what we're doing in the classroom with the kids or in the library with the kids and the events and activities that happen in real time. You can email, you can check out recently my Library Learning Commons certification portfolio that we do in our county. So really excited about that, where we kind of show about the transforming of our libraries and that instructional collaboration and our support resources and intentional spaces.
Congratulations again, Nick, on
yeah,
your
that's
Library
so
Commons, your
cool.
Learning
Thank
Commons certification.
you. It was nerve-wracking, and so I'm excited to have something like this with you all. So now I can kind of sit back, learn, and we can talk all the things equity.
That's really cool. And thank you for adding that. Like, that's a really neat thing for you to share with all of us. So, congratulations, my friend. That's awesome. Well, today we're going to talk about, as we said, focusing just on like our building inclusion, diverse collections that reflect all students' identities and protect intellectual freedom. And we're going to learn from these three amazing librarians what they have done in their library around equity-centered collection development that really supports literacy and belonging and the freedom to read. And we are excited to this year with the update of our framework. We've had literacy always as part of what we do as future ready librarians, but this new 3.0 version, we were so intentional and thought and worked with our advisory group and others around the country to make sure that we were representing especially that freedom of read, protecting the freedom to read, what we do with literacy, and how we really promote not only multiple literacies and literacy within our building, but really also intentionally thinking about how we protect the freedom of all of our kids that they can access diverse, inclusive, and superb print and digital resources. And I think that's something that we need to, really highlight and celebrate. And when I, first brought the new framework back to my district, I love that it's even on the top. And I have a poster of this in my library, and that was something that my administrators, they noticed right away, was that we now have that right on top is protecting that freedom of read, and that literacy piece is even bigger than we've had before. And so you can download this by clicking on the slide. We're going to give you the link at the end, and I encourage you to print it off and to make that part of what you do within your library too. And I know you're going to be so inspired, and so I'm going to get started just by kicking it off to hear these great stories from three librarians.
Ooh, I didn't know I was first. So I put 2 years in the library. It feels like a lifetime when you're having fun because this is my second year in the library as a school librarian. I used to be a fifth grade teacher, and I absolutely love teaching and being in fifth grade. It was my favorite, and I didn't know that I was gonna switch so quick to go into the library, but I'm so glad I did. I'm just fortunate to be in the best place in the library. Kind of how I go into the library and my plan is looking over at, my community, my intentions, my engagement. And what's been really powerful and shaped my library is my intentional engagement. When I put out passive programs, when I have games, when I have my activities, my lessons, I'm sitting with the kids, I'm interacting with them. I want them to understand that I'm not a separate piece to the school. Like, I'm not this person you see once in a while. I am here for you. I'm here all day, every day. Like the kids are like, can I check out a book? We're open all day, every day for you. Like we are like old time Walmart 24/7. We are here for you. So that's what's been really powerful for me, like intentionally playing with the kids, playing Uno and beating them and, reading with them. So that's kind of my little story where just getting from that classroom going into the library and being able to touch everybody and support them. It's been such a wonderful thing. And I got to meet these amazing people that y'all are listening from. So that's a little bit of my story and what impacts me and what I do.
So this is a few scenes from my middle school library. I think anytime you're a middle school librarian and you tell people that you work with middle schoolers, they're always a little bit shocked. They're like, "Are you okay? Was this a choice that you made?" And for me, I have been at middle school for 13 years, and I truly love middle schoolers. It is such a transformative time in their educational careers and their lives. And so my goal, I love what Nick said about intentional engagement because driving student engagement is such a hallmark of having a middle school library because we're kind of that bridge between, elementary library, maybe you're on a specials rotation. The library is kind of a natural place that kids might gravitate to high school where, you might be looking for resources for research or things like that. And so my motto is always, it's from field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. And so I have to find ways to get kids interested in books. One of those is like dynamic shelving. I have tons of dynamic shelving, all hail Kelsey Bogan throughout my library. But I also have all kinds of little areas and contests and different things that are going on all the time. So like Nick mentioned with passive programming, I have a whole space called the Create Space with all kinds of different passive programs. It is the most popular spot in my library. I had all my chairs full today with some different students making creations with perler beads. But I also like to just have little kind of breaks in their day too. So I have this or that polls. I do a 3D print object every week where students can answer a trivia question. They're like, can I look up the answer? And I'm like, of course you can look up the answer. You're in the library. That's kind of the the whole point of being down here is to get some information. And so again, just little things like I've got some hydroponics going on. I have a little take what you need basket. Um, I know that reaching kids is hard, period, nowadays, and reaching middle schoolers can be a challenge, but knowing those kids and knowing that, I'm there for them in a way that maybe nobody else in the building is, it's such a privilege. And so that's just a little bit about, what I've tried to build here in our little neck of the woods.
So, Melissa, and Nick, I really love what you guys said about, having intentional programming. There's no I'm just kidding. So my school is a high school, and I actually came from a middle school, and so I really, when I tell you, Melissa, yeah, it was, I won't say it was rough, but they are a special crew because they have like so much energy and they want to be grown. And well, I'm in the high schoolers where the kids think they are grown and they are super apathetic and they are all about their phones. And I'm like, dancing and standing on top of a table trying to get them intrigued like anything like look at me. I literally was in the cafeteria today on the microphone and I'm like doing that drop. They think I'm lame, but it got your attention, so by any means we going for it. So I will say that kids come into my high school in our library, and they have this mindset of what the library is because they have they're old school. We didn't go to the library, or it's boring, or it's dark, and so really having to shift that whole mindset is like putting in the work. So of course, reading is the core and my goal, but I really step away from that and try to make it a fun and creative space where they do a lot of other things all day, every day in the media center. So we have a huge maker space in my library where we have sewing machines and crickets and there's paint. Last week they made slime. There's all type of jewelry and activities. So whatever, like there's pictures of the kids doing the little diamond art embroidery, like literally anything that they tell me they want, I try to get it because I'm just trying to get them in the library. I'm trying to get them to love being there. So if they want it, they got it. We also do some cool podcasting things in my media center. It was actually a student's idea that we make our media center's podcast room into a recording studio. So using some of my SPOS funds, I was able to get all the equipment. So now kids can come in there and you can see them at the bottom, like make their own beats and they can record. We have a keyboard. I'm in the process of getting some guitars. So they really, have a sense of ownership that this is their space where they can create and make whatever it is that they want to do. And yeah, that's my library in a nutshell. It's a high school. It's very small. If you're thinking, however small you're thinking, it's smaller than that. They're like 300 students. It's tiny. There's no sports, and the students all have career pathways. So I try to incorporate opportunities for them to connect with career professionals. Too, we do different author visits, and yeah, that's my media center in a nutshell. That's what it's like there.
I
I
love,
love
Lauren, that you were like, you make it such a fun place for them. Like high schoolers, teens, like sometimes they don't, outside of school, they don't have these safe zones that we had as kids, really. Like, so you make it really fun and you make it a safe place for them. And if they don't come and read, it's okay. They came in the next time they might get a book, or the next time after that, or maybe they influence a friend. It's the point that you're making it safe for them, comfortable. You're giving them their zone. You're giving them a chance to be creative. Even like you, Melissa, like if y'all don't follow Melissa and see all her free resources, you
So
need to.
generous.
Like I have many in the library. So it's just she's a librarian that supports librarians. So definitely get those items because it makes a huge difference in your library.
I
yeah.
appreciate that, Nick.
You guys are all doing amazing things. And I love seeing too that every picture that we've seen in every library is that, it is all about the kids. And I think that is what is just so dear and the most important thing. And when I saw Lauren the other day that you were doing slime, I absolutely love that. And I had to ask, Like, did they get to take the slime in those little to-go cups?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
a
they made
really good idea.
it
Yeah.
was so crazy because the slime was it was a kid's idea, and I was like, okay, we could do that. Even though my daughter tries to make slime at home, and I'm like, no, no. But
Yeah.
at school, so yeah, so they made it. I had like bowls, and then they would transfer it to those little to-go cups almost.
Love
But it
it.
was gone in like 30 minutes.
And you add your little
Wow.
essential oils, and it's so like I just
Hmm.
love it. It's so fun. So
So
fun.
yeah, we got to run that back because they were crazy. If you haven't done slime in the media center, I cannot recommend that enough. The high schoolers were going crazy for it.
I absolutely love it. It's just so fun. So many things. Well, now that we've seen some pictures, some views into their library, let's examine the role of collection development in supporting equity, inclusion, and even more student voice.
Okay, so this is my library again. I think I was, I tried to think of how to frame this. And I know that, any librarian has probably always heard of the Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop theory about books being windows, mirrors, or sliding glass doors. And I think that the one thing I love her work. I love all those concepts, but I think that whenever you work with, let's say, middle school, and let's say kids who don't always want to pick up books, I think you have to go that extra mile and you have to make the mirror be like inches away from their face, right? Because I think that research, it's like I'm going to pick up a book, I'm going to read it, I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to see my life. I'm going to see a window into my life, or or into someone else's life, or a reflection of my life. So one thing that I've done is the moment that any student walks into my library, I want there to be a mirror back to them of what their life is like, what they might be going through, what their heritage is. And so I am really big on auditing things. I audit my face outs on a pretty regular basis, which really just means that I walk around and I be a little bit critical of what I've put out. But I know that if I'm facing out a book, maybe it hasn't checked out in a while, or maybe it's just something that's not, popular anymore. But the one thing I want to make sure of is that on every shelf, every bookcase, that I have a lot of books that are reflective of my students. Because again, when you're browsing, you want to make sure that you have something that jumps out to you. And the most natural thing that's going to jump out to a student is the cover of a book. And so looking at, the stretches of face outs that I have, making sure that, about every 4 to 5 face outs, I have representative titles and inclusive titles faced out. The other thing too, besides just students browsing, I do create a lot of book lists. And I feel like, some are read-alikes, but I feel like there's a real statement when a student can see a book list that is including them even in a way that maybe they did not feel that they felt included, if that makes sense. Like, looking at belonging, looking at found family is another big one that I have, because we always want students to know, that they belong in our school. But I also always try and preach to students, and tell them like your circle is going to grow and shrink as you get older. And so a lot of times the people that we become closest to are what we would call found family. And so it might be that you pick up your best friend and their extended family. And so just making sure that they see those lists, whether it's on a display, whether it's in that little browser that I've got down there in the lower right. I do make book lists for every Heritage Month. I think I have one for just about every single Heritage Month. And so not just highlighting, on a display once. I do displays for each of the Heritage Months. So I've got like the Native American Heritage Month display there, pictured that I have up in November. But when it's not November, I want to make sure that those students can flip through that little browser. They can find those lists And that signals to them that like they'll always have a place, like they're always going to be represented. And I think part of it is also just a finding aid as well. It helps me out because it kind of keeps my brain a little bit more organized. So it's not just always off the top of my head, which books might belong in on one of these lists. But it really helps them also navigate the library independently, because then they have the ability to look those books up in the catalog, find the genre, find the call number, and then move on to where they can become independent library users, which is a big bridge for middle school. So, looking at not just, hey, I've bought a lot of books that are representative. How are you making sure that kids can find those is one of my goals into making, a very equity-centered collection.
I love that you mentioned incorporating the books beyond their months because that's really important to me too. That, having the books facing out or doing book talks, recommending them. And I wanted on my slide to kind of look at some of the numbers in publishing and just focus on the diversity of the books that are being pushed out. And so that we are really intentional about the books that we purchase and the books that we promote to students to try to show them all the diversity of the world. My school is very diverse, and I mean, all of our schools are diverse. Whether you have a a population that looks the same, there's so much going on, whether it be neurodiversity or the way their family is set up or um, socioeconomic. So all these different things that make people diverse, even if they look the same, right? So really important to be intentional about building that diverse collection. And I've done a lot of work trying to diversify every genre at my school. So my school is genrefied now. My middle school is genrefied in the past, and it was important for me to have representation in all of the different categories. So I wanted there to be, you know, Native American representation in the fantasy books, in the sci-fi books, in the horror books, or Latinx representation in the mystery books. So not just pigeonholing different groups with, oh, they're all the historical fiction books, or just all the realistic fiction books, but highlighting all the Black girl magic books that we have. So when a student says, "Hey, I want something in fantasy," okay, we'll try this out, just to see the wide scope of different experiences, right? Really important too to understand my audience. So when I got to my old school, um, it needed a major weed. And there were like two shelves stocked of the Hardy Boys. Now, I don't know if that resonates or speaks to you, but it did not speak to me and it did not speak to my students. So, and I was like, this is valuable shelf space. Like this has to go. And even though the library was not genrefied when I got there, there was a classic section. None of those classic books spoke to my kids. So they were old. They had to go too. Like the awards won't save you. You're getting weeded. And so, just really the importance of, making sure that your collection speaks to what your students want, not necessarily what you want, but giving the kids what they need to grow and learn. And I do that through, learning my students, learning my teachers, providing them with surveys and opportunities to give me suggestions. I have a cute little, I wish I had a picture, a little suggestion box on my desk where like they can just drop in books, or I'll be building my list and I say, oh, we need more of this. Come tell me, what type of manga you want, or, um, really building those connections so that my library looks like how they need it to look.
That was pretty. Melissa and Lauren really gave a lot of what we should be doing and what helps. And even how Lauren said it, Melissa, like how you still are mentioning those heritage months in other forms. Like, yeah, we got to switch out displays. We can't have the same display all the time, but it is important to still recognize it because you don't want them to feel like, well, I could come in there during this month, but it doesn't seem like I can come in the next. Because some kids, unfortunately, will think that. Like adults, we're going to understand, but you may still feel apprehensive. But kids, they really may think, well, she really thought about us this time, and now she's not, even though you didn't mean that. So that's so important. I pulled up my tag report. You can do your analysis through your book vendors, like you can pull them. I pulled it from Follett, my tidal wave analysis. This is from Mackin, my tag report, and I kind of went through with my diversity. And because we're diverse as well. Like my school is primarily African American. I went through my collection like Lauren, and it was not representative of them. Like we were lacking. We had titles from 1940s, 50s, 60s. We had books that were not representative of the population. Like it didn't look like them. They were black children in books, but it did not look like them because the books were not illustrated and written by black authors and illustrators. So that was a huge difference. I noticed like, those pictures, they do not look right. And, the kids weren't picking them up. Just like Lauren, like they were not picking it up. They were not gonna. We had a couple Hardy Boys. They didn't want to read that. Like great written works. We love that it happened, but it doesn't work for the now. And I love that. I think somebody says, the libraries are not museums. So just kind of looking at my report, like it was a great thing I reflected on. If my school is majority African American, I should have the most books that are black books with black children, black families, black stories, and it didn't have to always be. I think Literacy Junkie, she did this. I was talking to Nomi from Sora like about your books do not have to be these hard life stories and what we're learning in social studies. Maybe it's just a story about, I have a corgi and I always say, I'm going to write a book with a little black boy and his corgi just having fun and stuff. Like it can just be a fun book with different populations, different family setups, and all the things. So definitely like you need to go through your collection, find out your stuff, go through your books. I last year I went through every book in my library. I was like, I need to know it's here. And I love that my staff kind of saw what we were doing because we genrefied as well. And my kids appreciated that. And I like Lauren, you said that you need to go through and like make sure your genres are diverse as well. Because I would have students looking in the scary section and they're like wanting to see books with characters that look like them. So that's like a huge thing as well. It doesn't mean that one genre should have more of this race or one genre should have more of that population. There has to be stories, and there are stories where it's all different setups. So just make sure like you're supporting your population. That's huge for me. We're a transient school. That's kind of new. We have a lot of Caribbean families that have came in, Hispanic families that have came in. So I kind of looked at our numbers. I'm like, we have to do better. And this is an old report. Like I have improved tremendously, but I was like, I need to do better with what I have for my families because I want to be able to tell their stories. And plus, kids, they may be just wanting to know about other dynamics and other races, other countries, other cultures. So it wasn't just oh, you're from the Caribbean. Okay, these are your books. But it was these are the stories that we have. We represent so many in all pretty much. So that was kind of my big thing, especially like for instance, I didn't have a language section. I had a teacher last year that was just like, do you have like election with election? Do you have a section with language, like just different books, bilingual and stuff? Spanish. She was a Hispanic woman, Spanish speaker, and a lot of her kids also, Spanish speakers as well. And I looked and I'm like, no, but I will have it tomorrow. And I did. Like I worked on that. I pulled, I looked, I saw what can we do better and what can we have. And I have kids that are like, we love Dogman. Everybody loves Dogman. I have Spanish Dogman, and they literally were like, I'm gonna read this. And I'm like, well, it's not in Spanish. I mean, it's in Spanish, not English, but go ahead. Why not? Like, if that's a way for you to read, to have some fun and learn something new, definitely do it. So just make sure you're definitely like developing, like, fine, it'll help them develop new interests and it just helps them learn more about other things. So the work is never done.
I want to piggyback off you and just kind of add about how important it is to have that representation. Because what does it
Hmm.
say to your students when they only see themselves in the historical section? Like the only Black books I see are about, slavery and civil rights, or
Yeah,
if it's a white school or student to see the only way they see black kids is that way portrayed in books. Like it's important to have it across the different genres
hmm,
because it just those windows, mirrors, and doors, right, showing the different experiences and really humanizing the different points of view. And I was going to say one more thing. We
You
Need Diverse Books has a really good grant that they offer. If you can, pull up your tag report, have your numbers, and say, I only have this percentage of books that have diversity. I need to beef this up and substantiate it in that grant. They will give you money for that purpose to purchase diverse books for your library.
wonderful.
So don't
That's
forget about
good to
that.
know. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Lauren, and everybody. You guys are just, it's so helpful to know these things. So, what are some strategies for selecting, evaluating, and advocating for diverse materials?
Yeah, so I like that Nick brought up the different reports you can get from vendors now because I remember trying to do a diversity audit by hand pre-pandemic with a spreadsheet and it was so hard because we were really determined to figure out, do we have that balance? Do we have enough books to represent different demographics in our school, especially as our demographics started to shift around a little bit? And I think that, we have such a wealth of information at our fingertips with any different vendor or your ILS, whether you use, Destiny, Alexandria, Access at any of those different services. And so I just pulled my Follett title-wise analysis. I try and do one at least once a year, usually after I do inventory and weeding. But sometimes, especially if I've just made a big purchase, I'll toss my information back in there. And I really do like that it gives you a breakdown of the number of diverse titles in your collection, the percentage, and the average age as well, because that always gives me something to work with. You can explore further in there, and it gives you kind of like Nick had his tag breakdown, how many, what number of titles you have in each of those different groups, how many, what's the average age. But I really also like that it gives you the option to explore a little bit deeper and you can start building lists directly from that report. And so you can use the tag Explorer. You can also, if you have your title check settings turned on, it's going to show you whether or not you already own that book. And then the other thing that I was digging into as well, I really do like that there's the option to customize what you have set for best of tidal wave, which typically is, how many reviews, how many copyright years old. But you can also select some of those award categories as well. So you can click on, the Coretta Scott King or the Belpré, and you can include all of those awards so that you know which are the award-winning books that are really going to showcase a lot of those diverse titles really, really well. And again, it's whichever vendor you want to use. This is just kind of an example of mine. Um, this is this is the type of stuff that we were trying to do by hand in my district so long ago. And now it's all right here and you can start shopping and spend those dollars right away, which I really do appreciate because, we don't have all the time in the world as librarians. So anything to help us analyze that collection data is amazing.
I
Could you
did not
shout
know
out
that
to
was a
your average
thing.
age? Like, we're so proud of you. We love that, Melissa.
It's such hard work. And especially when I know Nick mentioned or somebody, maybe it was Lauren and Nick mentioned that all my resources are free. It's because I don't have enough of a budget. So I'm never going to charge people because I know what it's like. So it is hard work when you're working with a limited number of dollars to increase your average age. I feel
Mhm.
that.
Mhm. Those grants. I didn't know Best of Tidal Wave was a thing.
That's one of
So
the
thank you for
best.
that.
Well, and then when you're searching for books, like when you're making your book list, then that will pop up on there, like with the ribbons and tell you. And it's so helpful because, and you can, I like it too, because you can. I mean, I work with all ages from preschool to 12th grade. And so it's nice too because you can go in there and turn things on or off. Like sometimes I look at different review journals for different things that I'm looking for, but those awards are really, really helpful to be able to search for those as well. I love that. That's one of my favorite things.
I
I
would
love
like
that
that
it
too because
recommends based off your collection too.
Yeah.
Like that's
Uh,
super helpful. That it's not just
yeah.
like we're gonna throw the popular stuff at you, but it's
Yeah.
like,
mm,
oh, based on what you've been doing and what you have, like that's always super helpful from Follett.
Yeah. Really helpful. It's like you said, Melissa, it's such a time saver. So very great.
all right, so more diversity audits and tags. I will say that one of the things I appreciate within Frolic Tidal Wave is the ability to tag things by the diversity overview or topic, but you can also narrow it down by the different genre that you want to focus on. So that will help when you're trying to find those science fiction books that feature Indian characters or Asian characters, just for example. So you're able to go in and then specifically look within those different genres to help build them out in diversity. How I build my diverse collection is by reading a lot. And honestly, I haven't had that much time to like sit down and physically read a book. I know, for shame, for shame. But I do a lot of audiobooks. Like I will run the audiobooks in
Mhm.
2, 3 times speed
That's
and get
still
it going.
reading. That's
Yeah,
still
it is. You're right.
reading.
You're right. You're right. You're right. It is still reading. So big on the audiobooks and lots of reviews. So I love reading the book reviews, and I don't have the subscriptions to these reviews, but in Follett they have where you can get the reviews for free with the book, so I don't have to join. Maybe I get some more money, I will. Anyways, also something else that has been super helpful to find out like what's new and what's coming is using the newsletters. So some different blogs will focus all on diverse books, and they send out weekly or monthly newsletters that will come to your inbox and tell you what's coming out next. And they'll have like a little blurb just to keep you in the know. Some of those that are like Our Las Musas, Rich in Color, and We Need Diverse Books, of course. I also learn a lot about what's coming out from social media.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
actually took Instagram off my phone, but before I did that, I got a lot of my information from Instagram, like just the pictures. Amanda Hunt, the Next Gen Librarian. If you don't follow her, go ahead and do so because she posts like a book a day, that will just let you know what's coming out, and it's just a way to build it. And I will save the post to my little collection so I can go back when I'm building a book list and say, "Oh, what's new? Oh, here are some ideas." Very, 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 very helpful.
Lauren,
Um,
I'm reading The Story of My Anger too. I just got it from the publisher.
oh,
Hmm.
I love that book. So
Me too.
one way that I advocate is by putting that's my signature in my email.
I
So
love
whenever I remember, I update the book.
it.
I
Great.
update it. And so it's just a way to promote, diverse books and promote that culture of reading so that I'm reading and, get conversations going with people that I'm emailing with, chatting with, or, situations like this. Now you know we both read this book.
I love it. Oh, I love it.
So I had a few different strategies similar to Lauren. I feel like Lauren, Melissa, and I, we definitely have a lot of similar things that we do to try to be, have those diverse titles and such. And then also it's different from library to library. But the biggest thing, like Lauren talked about, and Melissa even said, like the vendors, like that, Melissa, I can't imagine having to do all of that. Like, I'm just a baby librarian here, and I'm like, what? I just click the button and the report shows up. Like it's perfect. And so like the vendors are so helpful. Like in my county especially, we have a lot of vendors and our supervisor Holly does so much working with them and stuff. And it's perfect. Like I just think about when I contact Nelson from Follett, I'm like, hey, I want to get this, this, and that. Like, give me ideas. And he can just do it. And I've talked to like Bound and Stay Bound and Libraria and Mackin. Like, it's so easy to get help. Lean on your book vendor people. Even if they're not your people yet, like they still try to help. Yeah, they need to make a profit and everything, but they know what we're trying to do in the library and how we want kids to have the freedom to read, to be able to read, to find their choice and passion of reading. So it's just so nice to be able to have them. And I pulled kind of that report, like what I talked about earlier, like my Destiny Discover, what I have, and just having that option for kids to kind of find more and seeing what they want to look at. I needed to focus on more Caribbean titles and find more, okay, how does this work? And also have different little parts to it, fiction, nonfiction, graphic novels, and kind of those beginning readers, just to have that variety for it to reach my K through 5 kids too, because of that, age span. And then I also give my students an opportunity to share what they're reading, which is super nice. Kind of like Lauren, you had talked about, like in your email. Like my kids love, it's the younger kids, which I'm so excited about. They love sharing what they've read. And it's not like, oh, I read this Cat in the Hat book. I read this Mo Williams book. Like they're reading things where I'm like, oh, okay, like that was interesting. You picked up this scary chapter book. Oh, you wanted to do this historical fiction and all of that. Like they're sharing some important titles, and it's a good way for me to learn too, because kids, we can't underestimate them. They will share some things that you didn't know that they might have learned from a family member or just on their own and stuff. And so I love hearing from them because that's a way for me to figure out what do I need to purchase that's going to cater to them. So I have them sharing that, yay, what did you read sign? I have in our learning management system, it's a link where they just put like, what do you want me to buy? And then sometimes they'll just tell me, they'll come and be like, we need to get this. And I'm like, okay, write it on the sticky note. And I, leave it on my computer or on my wall so I can go and add that to the list and go make those purchases. And then even staff, they're able to add those things on because they have great input too with what, they do in the classroom or just what they know and all the expertise that they bring in. So it's really nice having that student voice and that staff voice because I can't forget about them. But the biggest thing that's really been super helpful and it's so nice, Lauren, she has this because we know the bookstore Impossible Moon that's near her. But I have a black-owned bookstore. It's the first in our city in Powder Springs, owned by Julia Davis, and she is phenomenal. I can always speak her up because she does so much in the community with making sure that our voice is heard and we're seen because that was kind of her whole goal of having a bookstore and being a black owner. Like the bookstore had been there for years. It was like a staple, but it wasn't the most interesting. It was nice. You can go in, everybody was welcome, but it was powerful to see. It was black owned. She transformed that space, those titles, just like we do in the library, to represent so many, to have that interest, to allow kids to come in and, have that fun and find something different and new. And she supports us so much at the school. Like I'm like, hey, I want to do a book swap for the staff. And she's like, okay, I got some books I can give you. I'm like, you got any books for me to take into the library? I always do and stuff like, and I just go in there to kind of see, okay, what is the booksellers, what are they highlighting? And that's what I like to take from and kind of add in or buy from her or whatnot and see like, okay, I need to add this to my list. And that helps a lot. We were at our event, our Black History event at the school, and we did like local legends. And our parent facilitator was like, oh, we're gonna have her because she's the first black owned bookstore in Powder Springs. And they were like, oh my gosh, Nick, like, like technically you're the first black male librarian at the school. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't even think about that. Like, sure. And we did that. And it was the fact that our families got to see that and kids, they got to see that. That was huge. Like the way it was mainly the adults just like, That's amazing. I never thought about that and what you get to do and see. Like, that's how you get, that's how you're bringing in that intellectual freedom, that equity. Like, we're highlighting the things that you can do and what you can have. So it's so nice for her to spread what I'm doing in the library out into the community because I can't reach them after school. I can't reach them on the weekend and in the summer. So it's nice that she's right there and it's another avenue just to keep it going.
Having a bookstore bestie is an indie bookstore bestie is
Hmm.
critical. It really
Yeah.
helps build up the community, like just building those partnerships between your school, the public library, and a bookstore is the ultimate trifecta of support.
That's a great
I'll be
story.
so sad if I ever left and I didn't have a bookstore near me.
No, that's a really neat thing. Great thing that you have all that support and those partnerships. Thank you for sharing that. So, as we get kind of to the end of our webinar, we have this big question, and I want to focus on this for a little bit before we go into some resources that everybody can share. But how can we strengthen practices that uphold intellectual freedom and inclusive access? And I think that this is something too that I love thinking about summer reading. And today, Lauren, when I was kind of going through the slides, I was excited to see too, focusing on that. And it's something that we're all thinking about. And so I'm excited to hear what you have to share with that too.
Thank you. So, yeah, it's really important to me. A way for us to build inclusive access is by building that personal confidence. I feel like when you are confident, then you're able to confidently share with your stakeholders. And so you're able to do that by, attending webinars like this, by attending different professional developments, and really building a sense of community with other librarians. So if you feel like you don't know, and maybe you feel alone in your district or at your school, just know that there's a really great support network out there, whether it be in your state with your state organization, national organization, or just friends online. There is a community to help you with whatever questions you may have and that you to help you navigate learning about um, these topics. So I really try to educate my students and stakeholders by like having conversations with them and promoting things in the school. I've noticed that lately, and I'm sure it's because of our political climate, I've had a lot of students who are questioning my books in the media center. I've had multiple students who will say, Miss Mobley, look at what's in this book. Should this be in here? And I have to have a conversation with them about intellectual freedom and the freedom to read. And if this book is not appropriate for you, that doesn't mean that this book is not appropriate for someone else. So let's find something for you because the library is a learning place of choice. You choose what you want to learn in the media center. And so that's something that has been popping up more. And so that's a great opportunity for me to talk about, just the freedom to read and First Amendment. And so really trying to educate the students and stakeholders through those conversations. I also take it upon myself to highlight diversity all year long. We kind of talked about that, not just during special months. And I do that with front facing displays. I have like a huge poster in my media center right when you walk in, that read poster. I had a middle school version, so I made a YA version. That's the YA version. And then like any chance I get, I'm putting all the diverse books on my posters and graphics to let students know that, hey, you are in the library.
I love it. Do your kids get to check out books over the summer and bring them back?
They do. So if they check out books in May, they can just keep them till August. I don't care.
Love it. I saw that and I was like, I gotta ask her.
I absolutely love that. I like the poster. I was going to say, Lauren, did you create that poster? Because it was super cute.
Yeah, that's really cute. I love
I
that.
did. I did. I did. I stacked up all the books, took a picture. Me and Canva go together real bad.
Oh, see, I really thought you just like used images and stuff. I didn't know it was a real picture. I love that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I'm a
share, she'll
photography
share the
bad.
link, everybody. She'll share the link.
Okay. Let me find it. That's from last year.
So, kind of, I have a few little things to say, like definitely kind of strengthening that. Genreify your library. Like, I highly encourage you to do that. That was my big project last year, like I said, and it transformed everything. It doubled our circulation. Our kids didn't feel boxed in. Like, they had a lot of different choice. And like Lauren said, have that diversity in your genres as well. I had my little dynamic shelving happening, not as cute as Melissa's. I had just something, but it was really powerful to genreify everything. I did the fiction section, I did the nonfiction section, and like my kids noticed that. And now, like, they have a wheel that they can spin if they're like, I don't know what genre to do. They really just want to spin the wheel, so they just spin it. And they may not land in the genre they picked, but it's all their choice. Like Lauren said, it's their choice. If they didn't want to go
Mhm.
to that one, totally fine. Go to another
Easy to
one. The
pick.
wheel is there for fun.
Can I say
Um,
something about
yes.
genrifying since before you go to your next topic? And it's about something I heard Kelsey Bogan say about why it's so important to genrify your library. Because when you go into the grocery store, it is not in alphabetical order. Imagine
Ooh,
if you walked in and it's aluminum foil and apples. That don't make no sense. You want the fruit with the fruit. And so when she said that, and this was years ago, I heard it and I was like, dang. And the kids don't know the author's names. Maybe Jeff Kinney, but like they, I mean, it's so important to genreify. I am team genreification. If you haven't done it, please do it. Sorry, that's all I
for
wanted to say.
sure. It gives them more options. They may not know the author right then, but they'll learn it when they go to these genres. They're going to learn more than that one. So that's a good thing. And I always say, I say don't box your students in. That's that inclusive access. I definitely wanted to focus on that friendly language and support my teachers and the students because we have, some students that they're beginning to read. They're trying to get where they need to be, even as an older reader. So I have like my friendly reads, and that's kind of my beginner books. That's my like specifically for K and one and two, but it's open for everybody. Like I have kids that will, oh, I'm getting this book to read to my sibling tonight. And I'm like, I love that. That was the whole purpose of the library, period, but definitely for that section. And if they wanted to read it themselves, that's fine too. And I have my friendly chapter books because I noticed like, my second and third graders, they're trying to get into chapter books. They want to pick up these really big ones because it's just big and it just looks cool to do. But I wanted to give them a process to start somewhere. I wanted to meet them and help them grow. And it helped our teachers too, because now they had a section to send their kids and work with them and get them, ingrained and ready to build up to more of those deeper level texts and more wordy texts or just higher level vocab. So that doing that in those two little sections and having my little clear bins, I'm super proud of that. They were like, it's changed a lot of things. And my K through two kids, they, especially kindergarten, they love like flipping through. And I put on there, allow all students all the choices in the library. Like we did a nonfiction, or no, we did biography musical chairs, and we've done like a few activities with nonfiction books. And K through two absolutely loves nonfiction. They like you can see my shelves, they're too high. I want them to come down one. But the kids, like they like kindergarten is trying to reach up that shelf to get a nonfiction book for space. And I'm like, we'll help you, we got you. Or another kid kind of helps them. I had a kid like climb on it once, and I was just like, not good, but it's okay. We're not going to be mad. I'm glad that you got that book you wanted. And so just opening their world, like it's going to do so much more. That inclusive access, giving them the option to read what they want to read, and it's going to help them with their literacy. Like we need them to see more nonfiction and stuff. So getting the access to those books and not just saying, hey, you need to go on to the picture books. That's where you should be that will, that'll change the game. We don't know what they're going to do in their career in the future, or we don't know what they want to do in college, or, it'll help them as they move on. Like, oh, I remember reading this about this topic, and now in science or social studies, I'm learning it. So you never know what passions you might help develop. And then my last thing, I know it can kind of be like I don't know, and how do we go? I put like finds, schminds. And what I did, I mean, my second year there, we had a lot of fines from before. And what I did this year, I cleared them out. Like, I was just like, it's got to go. I have no idea about this book. This book is probably not even here. I was probably going to get rid of it. And then we had some kids, they were just kind of like, oh, I know I can't even go in there. I got to pay this thing. In my population, like we have middle class students, we have some that are check to check. We have some that are homeless. We have some that are transient. We have some that are, just going through it. And especially with things that are happening, you just don't know what's happening. And I didn't want them to be defined by just that. So we definitely are very lenient on our fines. Like since I've been there, I definitely try to be like, okay, now turn that book in, get it off your bookshelf. But also just having that free flowing and that access and supporting them, like they do want to return their stuffs and take care of them. But I got rid of those fines. Like I didn't want to see that fine from 5 years ago. I don't even know what was happening then. Like it's time to let it go. So definitely take a look. Do you have inclusive access or are you stopping your kids from coming because they're scared of the fines? And that was like the perfect meme that I could think of. So
That's so funny because I had students in high school and they'll have friends from elementary school, and I'm like, that beef is not with me, baby. That ain't got nothing to do with
mhm.
what we got going on. Don't worry about
No,
it.
that's an awesome thing. And I think it's the snarky librarian on TikTok that always says, like, we're the keeper of readers, we're not just the keeper of books. Because like you need to get those kids in there and you need to grow readers, and not always just worry about, there's so many, like Nick said, there's so many circumstances that families go through. And that is like I work in a community that has, a higher than average rate of poverty. My building is on like the USDA free lunch and breakfast program, but we're at about 70% free and reduced lunch. And so I'll kind of start with my middle picture there, and then I'll go to the sides, but just kind of to segue in that. We started doing book giveaways, basically like free book fairs right during the middle of the pandemic. And it was such a gift to our building. It was something that we couldn't sustain because we couldn't really keep getting funding for it. We kept it going. I still have carts of books that I'm going to give away. I pull them out during parent-teacher conferences and put them in the hallway before summer. But it is so important for students to have access to books all year round, whether it's breaks, whether it's summer. I had a student that read over 250 books when during the 3 years he was at my middle school. And I remember before he left, I asked him, "Do you go to the public library in the summer?" And he's like, "No, we can't get there. My parents both work. We don't always have a car at home if, one of my parents is at work." And so I was like, "I'm gonna load you up with as many of like I just weeded. I gave him all my weeded fantasy series. And again, reach out to your community. You never know who your supporters are going to be. Like Nick mentioned, having an independent bookstore, doing a donors choose. When we were still kind of keeping our book fairs going, I had people donating to Donors Choose, even anonymously. And that's always a phenomenal thing to see, people really supporting getting books into students' hands and making sure that they are diverse titles and inclusive titles. I'm a big signage person. I always have both of my doors open to the hallway. And so I always try and put inclusive signage on my doors. There's a great campaign called the LAIF campaign where you can get just about any language, just about any state, affirming signage. And I know whenever I put my Spanish language signage out, my Spanish speaking students or like they recognize that. And so I have it in English, I have it in Spanish. We have two low vision students, and so we have signs outside of our all of our rooms that are done with a braille, and so they can read the word library in braille as they pass by as well. And the last thing I'll mention, kind of thinking about, you know, how like not that it's a struggle, but like it's an effort to get kids like books in kids' hands and get them to know more about the Heritage Months or why we recognize things that we recognize. I started making the mini page a couple of months ago. I have my picture up for May, which is AANHPI or AAPI Heritage Month. Um, I'm sneaky about things a little bit. And so besides just like, hey, check out these books, my students can pick up the mini page as like a mini newspaper almost. And it's always going to have history about the Heritage Month, a word search, and then on the back, a featured author whose birthday is during that month that ties into that theme as well. Because again, I want students to, know why we celebrate the things that we celebrate and make sure, that they have that featured. My community is actually has a really large Pacific Islander population. We have a lot of individuals from Micronesia, specifically an island called Chuuk, which is a really hard language to find print in. And so I've really worked on, making sure AAPI month is a big deal in our library. And our school district does a great job of having cultural events around that as well. But libraries are for everybody, everyone. Y'all means all for sure. Okay. We
I
do have some
love that library
resources.
mini page,
Oh my
Melissa.
gosh.
Sorry to interrupt. I just
No, you're good.
I'm gonna shout that every time, y'all. I printed it before I left work. I said I'm gonna make copies in the morning. I just
Too
love that
fun.
mini, y'all. It reminds me of like the Highlight magazine
It
newspapers and
does.
stuff. And I remember getting it as a kid in the mail, and like I have my mail here, and now
I
So
I'm like
know.
good.
afraid of the mail because I'm like, what bill is this?
It's so good. I have mine queued up too. Thank you for that,
Yeah,
Melissa.
it is.
Thank
Well, and
you.
then one thing too, I'll talk about this one resource, but anything that I put out is customizable. And so if you're not at, a middle school, you can always customize it for an elementary school or a high school. Visual book lists, I kind of mentioned those during this presentation. I have a website set up. Again, with all of the book lists for different Heritage Months, but also read alike lists as well. And you can swap out those book covers directly in Canva to make these match your individual collection.
Thank you for these. I love them.
Love those. I have a big binder
Yeah.
on my
It's
table too.
now when I run into them, like when I go to, like the doctor's office or something, I'm like, oh, I always think there's book lists, and I'm like, oh no, it's just phone numbers. It's boring phone
Directory.
numbers.
Boo, that's boring. Here's some of my favorite resources, again, just to help you with learning more. Maybe you want to build a diverse collection, but you're kind of like, I don't know which books are coming out. These are some newsletters and opportunities that you can use. So check out Rich in Color, Las Musas, and We Need Diverse Books to really help you with understanding what's out there. I'd also recommend the We Need Diverse Books grant if you haven't considered that already for beefing up the collection, getting some funding for that specific reason.
No, thank you. Thanks for those resources. This was such an amazing webinar, and I am just so grateful for all these ideas. I took lots of notes, you guys. So lots and lots of things. And with our new library coming, I'm just sitting here thinking of all the things that I can't wait to do with this extra space and new spaces. So I really appreciate everything that you shared with all of us. You can find the slides here at the link or by scanning this QR code, and things will be linked and you can find them. And so that will be really helpful too as you work through some of these things. This is a part of our webinar series, and I always like to share that we have now a little break until August, and then we have 3 more coming up. But these are all recorded, and you can just click on the slide to register and to find the recordings too. We also always love to mention the Achievery, and this was something that when you talked about, Lauren, the careers, I thought about the Achievery because I recently realized looking through this and kind of getting ready for some summer stuff for our high school kids that the Achiever is really great. It's a free resource for everyone around different subjects, but as they partner with all these different partners, one of the partner has a lot of things focused around careers. And so not just for our elementary and our middle, but great for our high school too. And as I said, this is free for everyone. And so families, students, teachers, a great resource. Also, the Future Ready Librarian Hub, if you're looking for the framework or self-reflection tool, we're actually working on the crosswalks right now. So that's something new that's going to come out this year. And of course, we're on Facebook. You can join the community. And our podcast series, season 12, kicked off a few weeks ago. This has been really great and just so many good guests. You guys have all been guests on here. Nick is a new guest this season. And so please tune in and check out everybody too. Just really great stories. But a big thank you to Follett Content for supporting the Future Ready Librarian program. And also just thanks for everybody who joined us. I love this webinar series and just this journey that we're all taking together. And we're all in this together. And so the things that you've shared today and the inspiration, I really respect and admire all three of you. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you,
It was
Shannon.
fun.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
guys. I'll see you all soon.